Going to have a look at what's grabbing headlines here in France. Now, Florence Villeminot's joined us for a look at the French press this morning. Morning, Florence. Lots of focus on spelling. We've been talking about it in the news yesterday. A decision to implement a reform of the spelling rules of the French language sparked an uproar.
That's right. It turns out that French people are very much attached to their complicated spelling. Let's take a look, first of all, at the front page of Le Figaro, which talks about this spelling reform that is sparking an outrage, a general outcry. And what's weird is the spelling reform, which is modest and non-compulsory, actually dates from 1990, so 26 years ago. And yet the government has decided to pull it out now. So starting in September at the new school year, textbooks will actually be implementing these changes. What are these changes, you might want to know? Well, the plan is to simplify 2,400 words in the French language. Words like nénuphar, which means water lily, spelled with a PH, will now be able to be spelled with an F. Hyphenated words like weekend will now turn into one word, weekend, like it is in the English language. And then there's the story about the accent circonflexe.
Lots of worries about the accent.
Lots of worries about the accents, that little hat-shaped accent. Well, there were lots of rumors about whether it was just going to be banned outright. Turns out it will be left on many letters, but in certain instances it will be left off the I and the U. But it really sparked a declaration of love for the French language, for French spelling on social media. And Le Figaro is one of these papers. Remember, Le Figaro is the conservative daily here in France. Le Figaro is very much attached to our spelling, says this is part of our national heritage. And its editorial, you can see right here, it says, knowing how to speak well, knowing how to write well, this is something that we are proud of as a nation, and it belongs to all French people. And so it has a message to the socialist government: don't touch what doesn't belong to you alone.
Now, Le Figaro is also questioning the timing of this particular reform.
That's right, because after all, we are facing a whole bunch of serious problems here in France. There's the threat of terrorism, unemployment is sky high. Why are we reforming spelling? And why are we pulling this reform that's 26 years old out of a hat? Why now? Well, they interviewed this man you can see in the photo here. This is Jean d'Ormesson. He's a famous French author, philosopher, journalist. He's also a member of the Académie Française, which is the watchdog of the French language here in France. And you can see this quote from the interview. He says, "This decision is just another smokescreen, essentially to divert our attention away from the real problems that we're facing here in France." And it certainly does seem to be working. We are spending a lot of time talking about this reform. Let's take a look at 20 minutes, though. It's chosen to see the humor in all this. And today you can see on the front page, bonne nouvelle pour 20 minutes. But you can see there are a whole bunch of spelling mistakes in this front page. Bonne is missing an N, nouvelle is missing an L, an E, and 20 minutes itself, the title, is missing an S. But 20 minutes says this reform may actually be good news for us. And so it has a message to readers: stop writing to us to signal spelling mistakes in our newspaper.
They'd had enough letters. They were fed up with it. Well, meanwhile, the government's also drawing criticism, Florence, for its plan to change the constitution following last November's attack.
That's right. And Parliament is going to start debating these controversial constitutional changes today. Now, that includes stripping dual nationals of their citizenship if they're convicted of terrorism, also writing the state of emergency into the Constitution. You can see L'Humanité, the communist paper, isn't happy about these changes at all. You can see they've depicted the changes that France has been going through in this form. You can see François Hollande turning into a missile, and underneath it describes how France has changed since the November attack. So we've gone from a state of law, state of war, state of emergency, and the final one, sale état, so a pitiful state, essentially a sad state for France.
Now, the papers are also continuing to focus on last year's terrorist attacks. Florence, a key witness who helped police track down the attacks coordinator, says she now feels abandoned.
That's right. This is getting a lot of attention in the French press today. Let's take a look, first of all, at this article in Le Parisien. You can see they're talking about this key witness that feels in danger. Now, she goes by the pseudonym Sonia, and she helped turn in Abdelhamid Abaoud, the suspected ringleader of the Paris attack. She helped police locate him in Saint-Denis. And yesterday she gave an interview to BFM TV and RMC radio, and she said that she's actually received little support from the state in terms of changing her identity, and she lives in fear today of reprisals, even though she has police protection. And Libération goes into more detail as well and looks at just what the situation is in France. The truth is there is no effective witness protection program here like there is in the States, where witnesses can completely change their lives, move, change their names, etc. No such program exists for now in France.
But in the wake of those terrorist attacks, Florence, there was a surge of fondness for national symbols here in France, the French flag and the national anthem among them.
That's right, La Marseillaise. Now, what's interesting is yesterday the Minister of Education declared that this year would be the year of the Marseillaise in schools. This is essentially a part of a series of measures to boost the values of the Republic in French schools. So this is Najat Vallaud-Belkacem that announced this year of the Marseillaise. You can read about it here in La Croix. What's going to actually change? Well, La Croix says not that much. This is actually mainly a symbolic gesture, naming 2016 the year of the Marseillaise, because La Marseillaise, the national anthem, is already taught in French schools, so it's not going to change that much. So it's a symbolic measure, and some people are also saying it's a political measure. Essentially, the government is trying to own the debate that we're having right now in France on national identity.
Thank you very much indeed, Florence Villeminot. A look there at what the French press has to say this morning. It is 26 minutes past 7. We're going to take a quick break. I'll be right back with the headlines. Also in the next half hour, Focus will be taking a look today at the problem, the question of transgender children. Growing numbers of children are choosing to delay puberty as they wait to decide whether they will go the full way towards sex change as they become older. We'll be following a bunch of children in California and the choices and struggles faced by them and their families. That's coming up.